This will be part 3 of the Trystick challenge. We still have a few more notches to make. So far, we cut the stick off and made a rounded end. We did a 7-notch, a log cabin notch, a pot hanger, and a hole through the stick. Next, we're going to do a V-notch. And I want to do a little test. I'm going to use my Outdoorsman and see how this does at the task. Okay. I think there's enough space between these two notches here to do a V-notch. So I'm just going to put the knife right here and rock it a little bit. Then I'm going to come from the other side and rock it a little bit. Now, one of the problems I have here in this particular spot, I do have a knot here. So we're going to see how this works. Now, this is a piece of maple. This is a branch that had come off a tree. So this wood's a little bit harder because it is not green. If you take a nice fresh piece of green wood, these notches are really easy to make. Okay, so we've got a V in here. I could go a little bit deeper. I probably also should strip the bark off this stick. And for that, we can use the sharp spine. All right, let's go a little deeper on this V-notch. There we go. I really like the nice thick handle on this. When you're doing those hard push cuts, it doesn't give you any hot spots in the hand. It's very comfortable. Okay, we also need to do a reduction, which will be making 2 cuts all the way around and then thinning the section out in the middle. Since this is hardwood, I have my Swiss Army knife with me. This is a Field Master. So I am going to use the saw on this. Let me see, there it is. Move the knife out of the way. All right, I'm going to take a section here that doesn't have a knot in it. This is a little bit straight, so I'll go right here. I'm going to stay behind this knot and this little crooked. So we're going to go in this little straight section right here. We're going to make a cut that goes all the way around. It's just going to make our job easier. Then we'll come back here a little ways and we'll do it again. Okay. Let's remove the bark in here before we start. Should have done this to the whole stick before I started. All right, there, we'll take that knot off there. Now we'll start removing the section in the middle. Okay, I'm going to do the same thing I did with my other knife. If you hold it back a little bit on the handle, you can push with your thumb here instead of pushing on the sharp spine. You can apply more pressure without any discomfort. Tell you what, I just absolutely love this knife. This is cutting this hard maple better than Scandi grinds do. A nice saber grind or full flat, it's thin behind the edge and has a good sharp bevel on it with a toothy edge, roughly 15 degrees per side, is just an amazing tool. It does so many things well. I mean, look, it just gets in there and hogs the wood out, which is what you would expect the Scandi grind to do. Only this does even better. You can see how when I go around and clean, it digs in deeper and pops that wood right out. Okay, let's try left-handed. Flip the stick around. I am better right-handed than left-handed. I'm not ambidextrous, but I try and do things with my left hand so that it works. I don't want to, I guess for lack of a better way to call it, a dumb left hand that can't do anything. It's good to practice some things left-handed. Now, there are a lot of situations that come up where a right-handed person, you have to do something awkward and kind of a little bit dangerous to make the cut right-handed. But if you switch to left-handed, you can make the same cut in complete safety. So I recommend practicing a little bit of your lefty skills. Or if you're a lefty, practice some righty skills. Here I am using a little bit of slicing. I'm not just doing a push cut. I am using a little bit of slicing action, which takes advantage of the toothy edge that's on this knife. Tell you, the more I use this knife, the more I discover it excels at just about every task. And I prefer it to other knives and other grinds. So there's the reduction notch. Now we also have to do a square notch. And let me find, maybe I can do that right in this section here. This section looks pretty good. So let's strip the bark off that. That is a great use of a sharp spine. And with a dry stick, you can also save that, and you can use that as tinder for starting a fire. Okay, square notch, square reduction notch. So we're going to do the same thing that we did here, except the inside is going to end up square. So I'm going to put this stick down. I'm going to make 2 cuts. One here and one here. Okay. And I'm not just going around, I'm making a series of 90-degree cuts. Then we'll remove the waste in between. Now, instead of using my outdoorsman for this one, which will be a very similar task, I'm going to use this knife. And I have finally come up with a name for this knife. This knife was inspired by a knife that William Collins made, which he called the Daily Chore. I'm going to call this one the Daily Grind. just to honor and just to bring a little bit of honor to the knife that I got this design from. Now the handle is far different than Williams' handle, and the blade is different than Williams' blade, and this is also a convex. So the daily chore, that was to do your normal daily tasks, things that you have to cut every day. So it was a full flat grind, very thin behind the edge. This is the daily grind. The grind is tougher than just a chore, your normal daily tasks. So what this is for the harder tasks that you have to do every day. If you do things that go beyond what a full flat would be able to do for you, you want to be able to do a little bit of batoning. You want that little bit thicker convex grind on here, a little bit tougher, then this is a great knife. So we're going to see how this one does. Okay. So we want to pay attention to where these flats are, and we want to cut right in that same spot. I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to come back here so I can get a little bit more power on the cuts without having to put my thumb on that sharp spine. Now this knife has a continuous curve all the way from the base to the tip. It's just one curve, and it has a nice spear point to come in so that on bushcraft, on work getting inside of notches, you have room to get on the inside. You also have a sharp spine. So this knife will also do bushcraft pretty well. Okay, so we're going to take some little bit more out of here. Then let's go on the opposite side. Put my finger on that notch so I can see when I'm exactly in the right spot. If I may be sniffling a little bit in here, I do have allergies and the pollen is really kicked in around here. Okay, now just a little bit deeper on this side. Okay, now we'll come up here. This lapel wire is getting in the way. Okay, and on the last side. All right, let's flip our stick around and do the other side. I'm going to start just slow here so we don't chip anything out. A little rocking motion. Let's get it in there. bugs are coming out. Work our way around, trying to stay roughly square. I think this one's a little out of square. See, that spear point tip does get in there nice. Starting to almost feel like it's going to rain. Yeah, this convex bites really good too. And one thing that's good about the convex gives you a lot of control. A Scandi wants to just strictly bite deep, but with that rounded edge on that zero convex, the more you rock the blade up, the deeper it bites. It's easy to rock it down a little and you take a shallower cut. So there's a lot of control with this knife. So here's our square reduction. So in the comparison of these two knives, they both excelled. This one did cut more aggressively than this knife, because this is a toothier grind, and when you get a little bit of that slicing action in there, a little bit of back and forth movement in the blade, plus the real thin edge, this just wants to go in and bite and just remove huge chunks of wood easily. This one is a little bit more conservative. The edge on this does have some polish on it, and this is set up more of, like I said, as a woodworking knife, so it has that little bit of polish. But this will also do whatever you need. This will clean game, this will clean fish, this will split your campfire, your wood for your campfire, you know, within reason. You know, wood like this, don't try and split major firewood with it, but wood within reason. You're going to make your kindling to get your fire started. This will do it. This will do all kinds of batoning for crafts, things that you want to, you know, bushcraft, you need flat boards for. And it's got that finer point to get into spots for doing some detailed carving and notching. So this is another just really good all-around knife. So this one I'll call, like I said, the Daily Grind, in honor of William Collins, whose daily chore was the inspiration for coming up with this design. We do need the root stripper. So how about we cut the stick off somewhere around here. It gets pretty thick down here, and let's see what we can do. Now we need to end up with two flats, so that's why I'm cutting it the way I am. As we chew our way through this piece, we'll end up with these two flats that we need. One thing with this belly and this continuous curve, it works really good for clearing out after you make a slice and you want to clear out the waste. That rocking action helps it penetrate deeper because you're not pushing a flat down into the wood. That works really good. So this is kind of a lesson from watching Moores make a tri-stick, where when he cut off the end of the stick, he did it in a way that he produced feathers on the waste side, and you could use that to help start a fire. Well, here, while I'm cutting through the stick, I'm doing it in a way that it leaves these two flats that I need to make this root stripper. Okay, so I need more off over on this side to even that out. Okay, now we've got to sharpen it. So as you can see, it's thicker on this side than it is on this side, so we have to remove more material from here to create this. Okay, I think I'm going to just come back a little bit, make this a little longer. I've never made one of these before. So your root stripper, that's going to help you process roots to make cordage and things like that. Okay, now, next what he did was made a hole here so he could split this down. I'm not sure if I'm going to get an actual hole, but I'm going to come here and I'm just going to turn and just drill a little bit right there. And then let's get in that same spot on the other side. Then I'm going to make some slices. And my goal here is to see if those slices will encourage the split right along that line. So next we come up here, we come right on that spot. I will use a little baton and we tap down and we stop right as it's going to be hitting that hole. I don't want this thing to split out. That's kind of what this was for. I can go a little deeper on this hole on each side. That should discourage it from splitting any further. And we can just continue to V this out. Now we have that root stripper notch on the end where we should be able to put a root in here and then pull it through. So if you have a little bit thicker roots, we can go ahead and just continue working this out a little bit. So that we can get some thicker pieces in there. Okay, clean it up a little bit. All right, so far we've got the round, the 7-notch, the log cabin, the pot hook, the V-notch, the hole through stick, a reduction, a square reduction, and the root stripper. That'll conclude part 3. I'll see if I'm missing a couple more notches, if it's worthwhile to do a part 4. We'll see you on the next one.